Okay. Well, let me just say a couple of words. I'm Jonathan Silk, professor in the study of Buddhism in Leiden University, and we're very happy to have this opportunity today to welcome a visitor who will be introduced in just a moment. And now I introduce Dr. Bert Janse, and there you go.
Okay. So my name is Bert Janse, and to me, the honor of introducing Khenpo Sodaji. So we are very honored here today to have the Tibetan Buddhist teacher and translator, interpreter, Khenpo Sodaji. And he is one of the main teachers and also administrators at Ladungar at Sepa, which is the largest and perhaps most influential contemporary center of Tibetan Buddhist learning on the Tibetan plateau. And he has been a pivotal figure in bringing Tibetan Buddhism to Han Chinese audiences in mainland China and also beyond. And this has been, he's been working tirelessly over the last 2 decades. He's also a prolific author, you could say, a bestseller of books on Tibetan Buddhism in Chinese, and he has an extensive network of Chinese students and devotees, and he is also very involved in philanthropical enterprises and spends a lot of energy on Buddhist outreach, especially among young people in Tibet and China. So that's sort of the topic that we're going to talk about tonight, the attraction of Tibetan Buddhism to young and urban educated people in China and beyond. Today is more of a question and answer session, things you always wanted to ask and never got the chance to, and I will try to interpret this and translate this as well as my possibilities. I'll try. Thank you. So who wants to open up with the first question?
I can do that if
yes.
others don't want to. Well, I would like to ask a question about context, which is that Khenpo is lecturing in, as we can see from your own website, for example, at a great many universities throughout the world. And I wonder if you would tell us why you think it's so important to present yourself in university settings.
Yes. Tanga the shitong parchir nitong go yarman tani tanga so janak tani lopchangare ninga tani chuchu zena kacherewa chuchu mare tendan tani lopchangare ne tani te danjizer kona draga tani koran so shogzagando tani nge sana kachur onson lochong de so ina pe kange na sano tani chi chanre chulure ka na pe yaboyo re tendi chi chis de la jikin kanre nanjuk sone na te nga lopcha kanre danji shinke yo na ngan role yense nge tani chuchu marashati de tani ngarang lapso ta jima dari lopcha kasakane na shozen ke yo na nga kale tagme tani ngan rose tani jima te ta janok so yin na parchir nge te na ta janok na janchin parchir sumchi so so ne ta ngan raz ma to zema nga changma lopcha chimbo chomala tani korong so shogze tani shogze dikkan tariang chi chuchu ngoman raz da shagyo mar da yana ya jikten kacha da ngarang ko samsarna ta tendan raz de shagyo te ma to zema ya chi gimsin chi omiri yo pa ta tenda cha mare korong so shogze di tani ro yo tani toron lopcha mayen ba tani amaram lopcha tanam jaram lopcha na ta te mayen ba ne chi zonkhang dan lopcha chong timo so shogze na ya royo yinayo 지금 토론 로자든 로시도 지금 망사선들 있고요.
So I started doing this, coming to schools and universities in China, starting in 2009. And when I go to these places, universities and schools, it's not so much teaching the Dharma as such, but it's more, talks and discussion. And I was initially invited to Chinese universities and schools. And I found that especially in discussing issues with the youth, be it about science or about religion, I thought them to be very bright, and it seemed very interesting. And I basically, from then on, I started being invited more and more to places around China, and I just thought, well, if I'm invited, I will go there. And this sort of grew from, being mainly in China initially to also outside of China. So basically I go to places where I get invited. These are not necessarily universities. They can be universities or middle schools or primary schools. And I also go, if I'm invited, I even go to prisons to teach. And it's often not necessarily speaking about Buddhism, but more about my thoughts on certain subjects or discussions or ideas that I may have. So it's basically, it's not that I have a specific aim in coming to universities alone, but I will just go when I am invited to these places.
Question. Should I ask in English or in English?
Whatever you like. Maybe in English, because then everyone can understand.
Oh, all right. How do people in China react to your teachings there, and also in relation to political issues?
nga ande nga chu ngama de kambon jigme phunso khongyen na tani zo chulug zo 막 또 주면 tani khong chapter 된다 진제가 요 말에 tani nga chu larong 그 tani janak lo ma mombo즈 따따 있나 tani 다 추추셔서 mombo 요래다 있나요 때라 지 다양 지 chapter 된지라 nga chu 양 로랑 되게 caption 로랑 되게 tani omogir 된다 차요 말에 된디 베나가 있나 shirtung 그 산지 출루 다 산지 출루도 있나 다리 지금 때라 지금 머르다나 잡쳤다나 되니 야급 지금 ram라세요 말에 슬라이나야 그런 그 모조신이 반선 그 조랑시나야 된적 요래 대인디 되니 지 땅아랑 주 추추시안에 있나 자가 대마인바가 tene lotra jamba chondrone inna the chapchutan jira kurang chungone inna chapchutan jira yosane na ngate yang tari ge chapchu zegi da ta yang shograng soso ge yang moyer mombozo onre tendi ya ji stab de momendo tendi so de chustyangwa ge gogone ne tene the jolang shege da ne chuchu shaje ta te moyer ge yen tene 지 가사강나 손에 있나요? 지 다음 무여된다 요사이니나요? 지 쇼강한테 답대 보면 맹거 된디 야나가 추추샤지나 대담 저런 조금에.
So just like Kempo Jimmy Pinso, when he was teaching, he taught Buddhism and steered away from issues of politics. And we do now find that at Larungar, there's many Chinese who are receiving teachings, who are interested in Buddhism, and I happily teach them, but I don't have any aim of influencing them in any political way. And that's also generally the message of Buddhism, that when you teach Buddhism, it's not about ethnicity or nationalism or political issues. It's more having a discussion about religious topics, things that are interesting for us. So also when I'm invited to universities, whether I teach Dharma or when I go to universities or schools to teach, then I try to stay away from the political discussion, just because it is not fitting. It's something that is not my aim. Yes.
Often people we hear people talking about influence of Hinduism in Tibetan Buddhism. Even certain god and goddesses have been incorporated in Tibetan Buddhism. How do you explain influence of Hinduism in Tibetan Buddhism?
Tandi yagarna ngama khanda chulu yore. Shana khanda chulu go lorjin gare latte yone na ngatsu sanje chulu da nikana tani ta khanda chulu go yin rawo tani parchir lo samtung yarman ko lorji osa mambo yore. Shana yagar go chulu tela chulu mambo se yakatela ya tramze chulu da na tani ta khanda chulu nankar ge yang tela khoina ngotsu yang chire ba ge chulu na tani chulu mambo se yore. Tati noni perna nga susang ngak na yoni tani ta jurwa tong jurwa devjin da hadang hamu rangjin jikten ba ga ji nang chil dan thumba na ra tinrang gare yo re tani gare zena tangsang ta nga chu gyanak ko chungni ne na gare ge ze yo re tani boygin nang tan de parchir ta khand chulu ke sara shan ji yongsa yana tiga jiga nangdun rabotin razu shi dana chayo sareze dana tani ngare da gyanak tani jimjig batso inang gare tinra sig yore inayang tate gyagar ga chulig dana te korongso namba yang jamare tejen dati nangdun yang dari mandrawa mambo yore nge kale shayo.
So, if you look at the history of Hinduism compared to Buddhism, you could say that it has a longer history, perhaps at least 3,000 years. But of course, within what we call Indian religions or Hinduism, then there's also different, different sections. Usually, you have Brahmanism. You have then in Indian religion, you have Jainism, and so on. So it's difficult to point to one thing, but it is indeed true that especially when you look at tantras, Buddhist tantras, you see, and then in the ritual or in the description of the appeasement and liberation rituals, then there's lots of descriptions of gods and goddesses who have the appearance of Indian or Hindu deities. And there has been some scholarship, the scholarship I know of Chinese scholars who say that there is, at least the outer appearance of these deities have been basically imported, adopted from Indian religions. But it is one thing to talk about the appearances of these deities, and another to talk about what they actually represent, the actual meaning of these.
Tate mandra sada kare yorzena jagar ke chulung rozina tene ta perna wanshik ba chulugina tene korong gati ndochak te takar ke ta wanshik ba yora wanshik ba yora ta wanshik ba chulung rozina tene parchewa tare ta ndochak takar ke ramchan ba telang ngon zang ge yosare tene ngachu tene khwerna ta sangha kono go ladang lamo go to go yavim zonjur ta timo yono de na shir tar de na to go ta phomo gor na baz yore tene ta te nang tar de na tene ta ndochak ze gore tene khsangwa tar de ne na ta te ndochak de ta melong ta be yishi melong ta bo yishi ze ta de yore tene yangsang tar de na semgi ngo jiwa me ba 다 땜송 거요래 다 샘궁오 시험에 봐 샘궁오 곡사라 댄송고요 동화다는 되니 곡사라니까 종든지 봐 댄송고요 다때인데 대지 다 낭철 거wan도 셴이나 다래 거나 지금 야연 종저가 하늘을 티모요 나라는 동무마가 다 샘궁오 시험에 봐 동화다는 되니 가밤에 봐 곡사라 되니까 종든지 송노 팀 촌돈 잠막도 좀 되니 배나 녀몽와랑 람천 바다는 녀몽와 랑가와 된다서가 원성게요 말에 되네 그런데 맞수 때다 상행 그 적는 거 종력때 야와즈도 심직시에는 되니 다 야그르게 출력다 나페 되니 자체산에 만져서 하장 첨보도 요거요래.
Now, for example, where you see the differences is when when you see, for example, something that you have in Shaivism is the sexual union, and you have that similar imagery in Tibetan Buddhism as well. In Tantric Buddhism, you have the imagery of a couple or deity in sexual union. And then there are different levels of explaining this. So on the external level, it would seem like it is an expression of desire. But then when you look at it from a Tantric Buddhist perspective, then it is, it's not necessarily desire. So there's different levels again. On the first tantric level, then you say, well, this is a representation of wisdom that is like a mirror. When you go on an even more subtle tantric level, you say that it is a representation of the nature of the mind, which is unborn, and also the union of the nature of the mind and emptiness. So we talk about different levels here. It looks the same, but then when you go to the deepest meaning, or you could say the actual meaning, then what it represents is the union of unborn nature, true nature of the mind, and wisdom and emptiness in unison.
We're here at the university, and he's also teaching at a university, and to follow classes here we need to have certain prerequisites. So I was wondering if you could say what the prerequisites there are to enter, for example, Meditation 100. At the university at Sakalaringar, if they teach how they go about that, how they prepare the students for meditating, or if they directly learn that as like the first thing. And then the other follow-up would be to ask him to tell us what he would tell his Meditation 101 class on the first day.
Got it. Nga tsum lopcha chimbo na inna tani ngune yang ta charkin mongbo zu go rawa de sharshok jarko inna da napchok jarko inna da parchir chigba chigyan rekn do. Tani nga tsu larung gar ne yang ta shina gum ja de la rimba mongbo su yore. Ina ya 치 곰기 레 당보와제 고난라고 곰고 달 망제 더니 다 대초인네 나지 차진 침부 매잖아요 저그래 더니 가서 라룬거 그더니 다 조바 침부고 곰 베나 다 착쳤다는 더니 토르그르서 된다 곰이요래 다 된다 곰 고는 있나 오네 지 가서 베고는 범가 속에 있더니 베나 처음 테르다는 더니 잠루 샘킷 만들 더니 이기야 다 된다서 또 오늘 범테를 갑치 담방 오늘 njogore 더니 다때 마임바가 양는 지 베나가 솔라롱 가르네니나 랑클 그지 게닌 그 돈바 다리가 더니 싸와 주 창하는가 된다 다 용시즈 막도 뭐뭐요 말에 되네 때 막도 창마다는 되네 랍트 중화 되네 안에다는 잡아 기스르 기르노 연축근에 되네 때 돈바가 원드시네나 돈바가 차 돈본을 저거래 되네 지금 추 냠랭게나 로 mom본을 차대서 되네 조칭거 되네 다지 곰 토름 거때 곰텔라 때려 조 다래 처처죄래 되네 랑크게 다 지 추바 그때네 곰 조칭거 다 곱서다 착쳤다 된다 곰 통보이나 된다 다 테마타도 곰 추지 소리요 말에.
So to enter university, there's a lot of things that you need to have, and there are lots of conditions that need to be present, and this is probably the same in the East as it is in the West. But then again, in the same way, in university you have many levels. In Ladungar you also have different types of levels of meditation, and perhaps as a beginner, beginning meditation and without high objectives, then you probably don't need so much of things. But it really depends on what you want to do. So if you aim to do certain meditation sort of practice in Dzogchen, serious practice, then you need to do the preliminary practices of 5 times 100,000 of taking refuge, bodhicitta, the 100 syllable mantra, prostrations and mandala offerings. So these then are requisites to do those type of practices, meditations. And then, of course, to stay in Ladungar as a layperson, it is helpful to take the upasaka vows, so the lay people vows. And then you have different levels. You become ordained, become a nun or a monk, and then you have vows that you keep to as well. And then, so people practice in that way. And of course, if you want to do higher types of meditations or more advanced meditations, then you need certain instructions. And as said, these preparational practices. And then that sort of prepares you for meditation.
Penanga ngama de larung garna thonde tene thang tangbo tene ta kambo jingmen pensok ko tene jokcheng go chut de gom de songre de gom de song de thang tangwo nga bonga darin bonga ya hasu some de tene ti trawa thon ma song tene pe rosam da inayang tare thon ma song tene yang thang niba de kare zena tene khor go chepcheng go wang yore de wang de thon ma song tene wang de nga yarkha tene yarne zi ki tene song tene yar thon de wang song char song yang wang thon ma song tene thang simba de zo de gomya de wang zer ko nan ra de chu de thop song re de ni na yang rang khar ko tene chi chan thom bo go de gom de thop la mo da le la bon zi yo ma re tang bom bom nga me ra ni ba de wang yo bo to ma so ra wang ma to de yang nang ch ma so re tene thang samba na nge tar bom nga to tene tar wang choma yang top sa de tene thang samba de chep chen yang tuk tene de zog chen ge chi re ba de gom da de tene top so.
So for example, back in Ladungar, Jimmy Pinto used to teach Dzogchen to people. He used to give the instructions. But the first time he did this, I had not done the preliminary practices. So I had not done these 500,000, 5 times 100,000. So I didn't get them. Then the second time he gave them, the second round he gave them, I had not done the initiation. I had not gotten the initiation. So again, I could not get it. Then the third time around, I was able to finally get these instructions and then practice on them. But that goes to show that it's not an easy process.
Tene tari che chwa ni ba de le tangbo wa go tene samtung go kan re shi na par che de tene nam na chudan nam na zo go chudan yo ra de ne na tangbo tari kanwa tari ji chong cha je kanwa tene shir ni kam nyam jap zeng je da na tene ga tsi ya di zi zhang wo zo je tene tari ke da rang ge tari zhemba tari den shok zi zhong sarang gu je tene natse la ta je tene chi tse kang la ya ra chi tse de kang la ta je tene chakba zhong zi mar lo da je ge ta na tene 다 shira gyab chola dis Korean da tenja zoni na tini ta nga su khasan terang ga tene swangtan chama ga gomtan de yenge yo re na lutra chembo mombo zikane na zo ta re lim nyam jari dan dan jab gom go yo re ta tenja ini na ta ga li chang na za chang na sem chang ta ga sem chang na tene ta narwap ta na tene de ga mo zum jong yong ze tok song go te ini na tene 토마를 그 상동군 바스당 세인나야 다 파치 다리 남남 주던 그 곰그 제이다는 그샘 세치도 그 냠버는 저기요 다때 저 로트셰기요래.
But then for the second part of your question, your second question is, as a beginner in meditation, then perhaps you begin with sitting the right way. And the way of sitting is the 7-point meditation posture of Vairocana, and that is basically sitting in the lotus posture or sitting cross-legged with your right over your left hand. That you have your arms or your shoulders straight and a little bit apart, that you have your head a little bit bent forward, that you rest your eyes towards the tip of your nose or slightly beyond, that you have your tongue on the top of your palate, curled on the top of your palate, and as last that you are not leaning against something but you're slightly forward bending. And the idea of this is the type of posture that we teach to everyone who is learning how to meditate, concentration meditation. And the idea is that if your body is straight, then the wind energies are also straight. And if they are straight, then your mind it's easier for your mind to focus. And the initial idea of this type of meditation is that you are able to focus your mind on something one pointedly. So this is the meditation starts with this posture. So we teach this to people who begin.
The question to you is, we have many different socio-economic systems in the world. The question I have is very short. Do you think a socio-economic system can make you sick, or can you only make yourself sick?
Socio-economic systems.
Tate niga yoresan. Ngatina chikto ngatsu masoso ga rang ga lipo ga na tani nan raman rata na dungun raman ra yong jito so de da ngatsu na chulu bai na sanji ba ga zeni na so jiwa ngama ga yang tani jichi nombo zdan re yore tani tsendi korik da na shutsu tani charke ngbo parjur de zo yang re ra mambo su cha yore tani ta chikdo 다 환주기가 저거 대탕에 난 자거든이 나차에 난 자거든 저 참마때 때니 조용레제나 저 87 연사 말에 인나양 가선대랑 잠mol랑 그 tani zodo da pejinde yara zachin zoyongdi tani ji rangshong kam go da khori dorlang ramra zo tani ti tonze zo chama de sra rungdo shi dana tani chama tanda zwe tani tanda chi kirongdi tani chacha dana devjin dana da ramra ga tani tangsang rangshong kam go tani chuni da montham ba nek mombozu chege yore 대인데 오늘 다 발치를 주 흔한데 사천도 소이나 나 단어에나 배 10분 정도 가르잖아 단직준 뭐 요금도 와 네 종질 뭐 때는데 이나야 강화 뭐 서클 레지다는 텐다 저배 뇨뇨를 렌도 내가 가수 영때 다하라 여러 야랑 쇼코는 때니 사차 jerk mombozi na ta nyama chi den khawa mombo le chi ta na tani nam kha ya na ta chopro zo che chopro zo tani ji sama de so yo na me mombozi de ko yo ra ta ten de chi ron de ngone nga song la de ge dengmer ta na nam mombozi che ge yo re ta ina ya ta 지금 잠molng ge 지금 rolling da ro ten da cha yo de pe ka le yo sa re chirezena 단 잠molong도 가서 대라인 나페 반선 로종 체다는 된다 요래 되는 로종 체 된다 요디 다 그런서 또 총몽보도 언저리요라 다 총몽보도 언저리 요디 되니 다 발치를 유럽 다는데네 아메리칸도 소인이나 다 사마다는데 소지 약쇼 인사래 맞수 야노컬로만 몸보승다네 용디더니 다 그런서 인치민진더니 내가 전에 등내 인더니 파란 좀 포도더니 즉 다치도 카우기 땅만 만들었더니 자마 즉 어디탕 형식 자마 만들게 몸보스 같다 라건도 강타리야 맞수 자물은 뭐 참마가 런건 코리가 런것도 시시에 되는 런거 대탕라 런거 노자조고 견도 배 고고나 배 칼렌도 옛날에 지금 정마다 때라서 고나데 인사마래 그 배나 오스트레일리아는 데나 다 된다 네처다리 뇨뇨인사래 유럽네 옛날에야 된다 네처 뇨뇨신사래 예 다이나야 지 나초 정마가 조 로미 되던 것 하다라 지금 맞춘 시즌도 되나 배가 전부는도
So you could say it's a little bit of both. As from a Buddhist perspective, of course, you would say that the notion of karma, that mainly what you experience is the result of something you've done previously in a previous life, for example. But then, of course, you can look at the current environment and you can see how the environment definitely contributes to your general well-being, but still as a result of karma. So you could say, well, is a socio-economic situation mainly making us ill or making us, causing us suffering? That's maybe not the main reason, but still, it is something that we need to take into account. So, of course, we see the progress, economic, socio-economic progress, but that also comes with a lot of factories and machinery, and that comes with exhaust, and that is something that is not generally not good for the environment, not good for people. So far in the Netherlands, it's been very nice. I found that the air quite clean and not so much exhaust, not as in certain places in China, where it is really the sky is often you can't see the sky due to the pollution, and it's also something that the sort of the pesticides and the pollution in food is also something that's a big worry for a lot of people. But this is, of course, so then the environment becomes, from sort of the more worldly perspective, it becomes a concern for us all. It's something that people need to study, and we need to realize the effects that are concern for business and progress, what they have, what kind of effect they have. And we see that, for example, regulations with regard to that in Europe and in America, they are a lot better than in other places, and we have less concerns about the food we eat and the air we breathe. But we see that these type of effects is becoming a problem of the world, but it's not everywhere as bad. So Europe, America, Australia, we don't see big problems, and elsewhere we see the results of pollution, and it's something that we need to take into account and we need to take care of. But I wouldn't say it's the main problem of our suffering or our illnesses.
Good afternoon, Professor and Translator, Doctor. I just have a question that will the desire for love, company, relationship or marriage become object or path to spirituality? Thank you.
Because it becomes an obstacle. Or does it? Or
does it?
Yeah.
다 shirtung nga tsu ma sidang se na tani jikting kamsa jikting kam dana tani choa shirgu di tani daga da sharlo nursing ma se na di nga tsu rolik choa shirtang zi yora dan shirtang zi yojin de tani ju tanga yobuz ko ma song da yin chuba sir kan des chu jung he na.
So, you're talking about from like a Buddhist practitioner's point of view, or just more a general point of view? The page in English.
chubaga zo parchi zojido nachi cheba de karizena ta zo chula lukta chirwa. Lukta chine tani tariga ta jing sam samlande jig tari drumna tondo maika samji tani mabdrup juda te parchi nachi chishu re sam. Karizena tani uma jigyawe na sonyo re. Chirizene na ta tsuchum char song na lagasri. Re tani taga lukta shine na tani ta chu de yang takpa zi drup ju yo ma re se ta tenra sonyo re. Ta tenra indi nga tsu chu she no go tene ji shirtung ge na pe na dari ge ta ji pe na ta ge ning ge dom ba na ja ge tene ta mong bo yo ra lap cha mong bo yo ra de zo chang ma dari drum na na charkin chu charkin yo bo re sem ka re na sem de sra chung thu ya la pe don dak chen bo yo ra ba re ta yin yang de zawang ma de ka re the re na zo de tene chude mudru mara yugin jojo te pe za chimbore ga te maim ba ga tene benanga su ji rang jindang ge shopa de so yin na ta ji chumthan da no chum da ba tinda che thon na pe ma ge yobore ta yena ya tinda ka te matham na ta tena ji pe na shoha shia da tinda yoro je tene pe na sado do ya da tinda mara shoba te tinda che yoro tene gyoshik zor chorwa tene dukpangari na tene tanda chena chores te indi zo de da semga mar mandorin ge ta tene gin kyong ro kin karchimbo yang mando sam ta chubai na tene ji jamba so yin na yang jamba gon rol ka ka mombo yora te nge saru ko mando.
So I think generally speaking the biggest obstacle to practicing the Dharma is wrong views, because what wrong views do is they cause you not to practice, to leave things aside, neglect things, and this is also something that is said in Ayadeva's 400 verses, it says something like, it is very good to practice self-discipline or ethical discipline, but it is worse to, or it's better to not have wrong views. Generally speaking, there's different levels of like vows you can take. You can take the upasaka vows, or lay people's vows, or monk vows, nun vows, whatever. And these, with that, you create contributing factors. They basically help you to protect yourself from doing the wrong things. But the most important thing here, the basis of one's practice should be not having the wrong views, because they cause you to do the wrong things and not do the right things. So you find, you hear of monks, ordained people who are very concerned with keeping their vows and self-discipline, moral discipline, but maybe are less concerned with maintaining the right type of views. So, in my view, then wrong views is the thing that we should be most concerned about, because this makes us do negative things. So this is from a Buddhist perspective. How this would translate into sort of worldly business, I'm not sure.
What is the Buddhist perspective on people who kill in war to protect themselves? For example, in the Second World War, people soldiers who were on the front, which is usually as close to the enemy that you can see the white in the eye of the enemy. And there's only one wet rule, it is you are killed or the other. So is there a kind of karmic mercy for all those soldiers who killed to survive?
You mean, as in, is it still killing or not, or is it still negative or not?
All the wars.
Basically, the soldiers who are made to kill, who are forced to kill.
Yeah. If you stand in front of the enemy, you are dead or the other is dead.
That the country na the pena sochopa de niba chimbo yere. Then the Jimson Jamba Zerguna yang sun jikten bagwan de sheni na yang te shatur mambozu yona choko re ta yang chuluk wan de sheni na tene paru da sat samya ga samba te na tene joro atona tene tatuk soki wambo te gak jo ji dana te jin da na to da 소심 단 되네 유로아도는 타득다나 되네 쇼고공봉 강조 조스숨 유로 타득세 된자조 창송의 종때 강따리양노 데라 다디 나르만 되네 몽보스 데 쪼쪼비 니바가 나르만도 더 오늘 요게요래 되네 데 두바데 요래 되인데 셔동거 다랑 종이 쳇더 되네 바로로 파로라 지 고로아던 건국된다나 시 초래 레다 이나야 다랑 중위체도 파로 셋 동구빙이 봐 요 말했어 그랬나 내가 장랑치니 비까비나야 잠바 보고 졸라 되네 저 라면저가 다 되네 사제조라 데 조용나야 이나야 그런 때라 중규셰도 그다 몽보요래 셋 타치도 셋 동구빙이 봐 만두고서 sa going ibamando so going ibamando sanre tendi kan tariano tene teni bade choyores ni la sarkada yakko 캄베르가 잡나 콩고 네 디스가 지금 차근 차가지고 잡나 그지 거 알아 럭 그거 잡나 거래 나는 럭게 잡어
So killing actually is always a very negative act, and whatever the reason for that, it's still negative. And we see that in the world, like from a worldly perspective, then certain type of taking life in some cases is not something illegal. So in wars, etc., then there's allowances that, you know, if it is to protect yourself or it is for a different purpose, then it's not something seen as you know, punishable or bad. But from a Buddhist perspective, if you have the motivation to kill, if you then actually do the action of killing, you know, you go about killing, and also the final act, the person actually dies, then that makes a complete sort of cycle of the action or the action of killing. So you can say, yeah, there are allowances when you say when it's out of self-defense, then it's different. But when the motivation is there to kill another, and you actually complete it, then in any case it is a negative act.
Hi there, my name is Obi, and I'm wondering if there is another way to cleanse your karma instead of suffering.
따때 네때나 파르nga chokat서들은 장는 거 뭐뭐 지가 되니 레 게와 죄니나 되니 대와 종존도동 되니 레 먹게와 죄니나 등은 종존도 파르치아서 근데 김선도 고고 말에 담 먹고제도 먹고제 소 당아 소 락소 코리 되니 김선 뭐뭐서 특요라 되니 다 총총인디네 되니 센드실리 김제가도 락소 취야고 되니 그 지롭종 치사단 된다 요 말에 되니 아직 나중 코리 그 르네 대양 파르치아 대양 즉 센드실리 김제 요 사가 되니 코리 메반르다 몸차 되니 나지 시르나 센드시고 되니 레 게트코 데 탈라 똑바요지도 다 파르치아 로총 몸보즈 그 된다가 똑바 요거래 똑바 된다 요거래 가르잖아 나총 추샤네나 당보 똑바 요래 되네 똑바데 저하고 되네 랑게 로랑시 상로당 되네 쪼바죠 되네 름지 다리 달레나 레트근 제버 먹게왔던 종 만나 먼종 데 강롱들라 타초지가 되네 땅케 니시어 버게 용래 된데인데 땅 눈에 장네 회나 nga라 상로당나 되네 달레 짐진도 문이 요래 상고요 대여지대양 런커그 추라 답바 대바 잠스 많이 막아 당 운행에 되네 이 롱다 르바 다 된저고 되네 기론디 되네 단데 요사레 가르제나 베나 나초 뭐멍보요나 파마 직바이나 보니요라 데 보니가 그체 nga마가 다리 레데 되네 우마이나 다리 파마니까 그 지기 멍보즈 자가 요래다 옛나야 보니까 그다 대화던 등을 얘는 자요 말에 대 문자지기 짐슨데 그런 수 건식이 감나 레 요노 되거래 막 도제면 대 마임바 다 되니 셰고니나 다 가스대랑 찬륵 바기나 대 셰탑고요 말에 근데 가서 출륵 바기나 대 사로즈도 되니 셰탑고요래 대 샤노 대야 땅아 춘초와가 줬대 되니 냠뇽 질런시니나 자가 만에 수안로 땅에 나ppe 라초 여보 용거요래 때나 네때나 다리 그때 고알렌지다나 텔라 짐직 시기다 배가 쳔버래 근데 제 저와 시스템도 제 야르장에 저와 시기 때 여보ren도
네. So first of all about karma, then generally speaking, I mean, there is this notion that good actions bring about happiness and bad actions bring about suffering. This is something that a lot of people already sort of have an understanding of. They find this a reasonable thing, and this is something that we see, also from you see that studying brings about something, or certain actions in the environment bring about certain results. So we see that how that sort of works, but then with the action, or sort of the working of cause and effect, it is actually very good to. We hear a lot about karma, we hear a lot of stories, but it's actually very good to start with this sort of doubt, thinking, how does this work exactly? Because doubt leads to questions, and questions leads to investigating and discussing and thinking and understanding. And then to a certain point, at a certain point, you come to some kind of understanding or conclusion. And Kenpo says, I personally, I really believe that the working of cause and effect, karma, exists. That it is really does work, and this is not out of faith. This is not for me not an assumption, because it is part of Buddhism, but it is on the basis of studying and making certain arguments, thinking about that. And you can see that the workings of karma also just more in the world. For example, if you have two children from the same parents, you see that their levels, and who basically have the same environmental conditions, they have very different experiences. Some might be one might be happier than the other might have more misfortune than the other. So it is, if you look at how these things work, at one point you come to sort of an understanding that these things really function the way they are explained, and it becomes very clear for you. But this is something that is a process, and that is something that you sort of practice in doing, thinking about how karma, how the workings of law and effect, or the working of cause and effect, how it works exactly.
Tare shapa shha shikitela pena ta ngatsong Beijing nangtang shapa shikito zo nyembo toje ta tene tenji tobze tene pena dorji senwan denji nam kabgom니다 라마금 등그 shha shikite tene tare ta sim 준비 또 아마 런 득바 치치치요나 데라페 조바 잡고지게 데레 tene sorchi pirto yana ta chinchong e tenri 득바즈 치 먹ong산네 tene 담자소죠 데레 tene nimbo 근도 쇼피스톱즈기도 다 간지선거나 tene 페나 dorji sen화 런거 tene 던지 남칼라 꿈네 tene 티 신럽라 tene 런거 득적 박찹 소마도 말 딱송산니 Tendra ta drsum bevjong drsum bavjong tendra gumtang yore ta tendra chene na yang shihai na de rangi de ba de sun da gong re de mayen ba ge tene yar yang ji cham thombo ne zi na ni rang sem ji ne li la sem ge par ta ne tene dongba ni ji ngo la tene zhe ji de nyam ber jang ne tene rang sem ji ngo zam ber shi ta te na yang tak nyala yang tak ta yang tak thong la number 2 je yang tak bi ngo la yang tak ber ta ne na yang tak ba dem thong di number 2 je re zi ta te di si chi gum nyam ne yabo yo san ri na te ne shwa tin ra yong re, 感觉点着忙呢，人不多就过呢，小把些那培养不要嘞。
But then it is this karma. It is also possible to purify this, and within our system in Tibetan Buddhism, there is a sort of a way of purifying karma on the basis of the 4 forces or the 4 powers, which then starts with doing something positive. So that's, you could say, well, this is meditating on Vajrasattva, or reciting the mantra of Vajrasattva, purifying mantra, or visualizing your teacher. The second then is the power of remorse, so feeling regretful about what you've done. And the third is making the promise, basically saying, well, I've done something negative and I'm not going to do it again. And the last is the force of the antidote, which can be a number of things, but one would be to visualize Vajrasattva, and then visualize the stream of nectar going down, being blessed by the stream of nectar, by which then you visualize that your negative karma is purified. So it's a way of practicing. So these are the 4 forces or 4 powers that you can employ to purify your karma. Alternatively, you can also focus in order to purify on the state of your mind, to meditate on the real nature of your mind, the true nature of your mind, by which you can become liberated, and by which this type of practice can you can also purify with. But again, then you also have the 4 powers. These are both ways to purify karma.
I have a question about mind dharma, or I think it's gongta. How does it work? Where is it stored, and how does it go from the past to the future?
Gongta de mamo music koyo menena nge tendra lanta tendra mara lamna yo te mambo ko konroji mare.
Maybe for the people who have not heard of mind dharma, then maybe if I say something, then maybe you still not understand about mind dharma treasures.
Ta ina gongter de karizende shina nga chung khasa teren gande ngorun boche ga ta terma pe mambo yora pe na renchen term zo ta pe mambo yore tene pe yorna tene tertun yarsa tertun yada jet samza ko tene pe mambo yore tene koransu te terchu te one ta darnga ji 심직 심 용케 지 심직 시안르지나 tene koran koji pe yore te maim baga ta termagol urjinde thakar dranganguni ji ko kabunre yore yana zu gongterzi de tene ta ngorun boche gteni bernatari chukan roazita ta maon nerkamna tene mara ta titsud mo garsondi mara nyamrora ta te manyimbi chetna to tene semgi sangwa tela tare ta mara je ta semgi sangwa tela ter to range of juzgonre perna ngachu kanezera pena ta te chumombo ngare to tene namki khamna be nyuje yore ngare to tene chonong la be range of yore tene ngare to tar chaqnong la tare re yore tene gongter zechit tene ta thigi sangwa inzot tela ka ningi ka gi sang inzot tela tene khanru densi trapa ge je ta ve nan tene tende re para ba yore tene re ba yore tende yendi tene 다 티 테스톤데 티초 니친 자 톤디 tene 그런 그 다 다탑나 잠자라 테니 다나 테니 다 다 되지 섬존네 되네 엄마 거는 뭐 지금 몰름지 돕네 저스타와 전도 리요 비 테스트에서 양 되네 칸로다 추경 때도 때라서빠가 되네 다 되네 다 그러네 되네 다 된다 그러네 되네 럼지 다 되네 다 도르용이 뭐요래 아마 베나 팅곤 첸서는 뭐 첸르라에 나랑 한번 중매 편소에 나라 콩 넘버 소에 나더니 다 공트르페 몽보 요래 되네 베나 그러는 뭐 제가 네 차버지 사자레레 통송됐더니 다때 원이 지정기 설더나 저 되네 대추대랑 그렇게 통용이라는 데는 뭐 요래 베나가이나 그뭐 님방가 자반 로건도 됐더니 당에 다른 삼건에는 되는 공트르페 몽보즈가 이게 도밥이 요래.
So these treasures, these are generally speaking left by Padmasambhava, by Guru Rinpoche, and so these are treasures left by him a long time ago, and then later on there are people who reveal these treasures. So these can be text or other physical things, or of course meaning. And there have been at least 100 treasure revealers, people who reveal these treasures in the past. And this is a big topic of research. You can look at how this has happened in the past. Then you also have this mind treasure. So these treasures, you could say, stored on the continuum of a person by Padmasambhava. And in order for these particular teachings not to be lost, so the idea is that teachings, they degenerate and they go lost, and then when the time is right, they can be revealed by the right type of person. So you have these sort of physical treasures, and these are found by treasure revealers in from the sky or from a lake or from a rock. But then you also have the mind treasures that are then stored on the mental continuum of a disciple of Padmasambhava. And then when the time is right, and the time is sort of announced by there being all kinds of signs, then this sort of becomes revealed. So when there's sort of this can be triggered by other people or dakins and other things that happen, or being at a specific holy place or like a pilgrimage place that is associated with Padmasambhava. And then these type of treasures can be revealed. So there's some, in modern times, also famous treasure revealers such as Dilbo Khyentse Rinpoche and of course Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche, who have then, traveling to specific places, started to, say, remember things or come up with things that have been, or you could say, stored in the past, and that's sort of how a lot of these cycles of treasure cycles have come about.
This is a question that I always got two of us. If karma works, can we get what we want by planting the seed of karma? Such as if you want to get rich, then you make people rich first. Such as if you want to have a company, then you provide company to lonely people. Mm-hmm. And also we heard that if you do good things, specific good things, in accordance with what you want, and you think about your good deeds, instead of forgetting about it, thinking about it, emphasize this, and then the seed of karma will grow crazily, and then you will get what you want this life, but not next life. We just don't know if this is true.
다 맞송 신나 레즈기데네 tene namba mombo ziyore tene chu te pe garezen te naka mombo ziyore le ngare de tene chen de jwe thongchum nyongjer chen dala jumne tene chen di tong tene 다 ರಂಗ jimba zopa gomna tene shawakan jumna yo muksur ko niba chimbozu tsendi tanga mayo je denra yore tene yo lengare to tene tsende jumne ne tsep shimaya tene geni nyongjer tene geni tene jimadari nyong kiwa chuma pena tsame pi le pasa pa masa pala soba shin denra yore tene yo lengajik te tene 다 지마 다리 새로 몸보고 지니 명제 다 된제양 다리 랭가레 요제 베나 다 디솔로 야차 몸보 손에더니 레데 넘버면 용제 된자양 요제 되네요 랭가식디 다 님보 라만자 그 차송디더니 아마 뇽 이바 있나요 지마 다리 뇽을 망이바 단 뇽이 이바 메바 된제양 랭가레 요래 그때인디 마수 가성되는 건 뭐만 보스 그 달레 김제시 기도 연심민심이 그 체인들라 되네 뭐바 뭐보요래 배나 가레 짐바 동야도는 따페 체인들라 여러 식보조야던 되네 조파 곰나야는 체인들라 지 랑 지약보용아 되네 된자다는 대신도는 지 잔라 로바시네 나지 랑가 켐탑데 대조지 토모용아 된자 쌈쌈레다 이나요 다 레지기도 페나 샹바가 때문에 사원 시카 사원 살았다는데 동카마 도제면 디주 동동스 그런 만도요 말에 되니 되니 땅아 수추가 나나 제네나 가마카르키 따티 릴라토 시마카르키 따티 릴라토제 가마칸자인 따따가 다리 리텔라토나 코레 되니 시마칸자인 다가 따따가 정거 레소코 kindel라토나 코레 소요레 된자인디 지 그래서 멍멍치와 배나 사식수소네나 처마가 지금 레짐지기도 지금 테마터데 하면 용은 좀 차요래 삼거요래다 따때 지금 직된 거 좀 저렇다 뭐 사원 말한데나한테 레라보 차요 말아 되네 나 할란사찬에 장바 요 말에서 오늘 장바 요래서 오늘 간래야 고만도 가슴 가리지는데 배 장바 몸보요래인데 가리는 나나 장바 요 말에서 정말 탕래인데 간래 고만도 다 가서 장바 같으니 사온 거 배전에는 레텔라 배 고지요래.
So we talk about karma here, and then it's important to know that there's different types of karma, also in the way they ripen. So you have karma that you do in this life, and that it actually comes to fruition in this life, but you also have karma, the second type of karma, that only comes to fruition in the life after this life. And then the third type of karma is basically the karma that ripens in the life after the next life, or the lives after the next life, and you don't know when this is. It may be hundreds of years or hundreds of lifespans. And then it is also not necessarily that you will be able to actually experience the result of the karma you do. You know, there you might do something in the meantime that destroys that. When you speak of karma that you experience in this life, then that you can experience in this life, and we often think of generosity, and that is something that you will get back, or being patient. That's an attractive quality. So this is something that you can experience in this life. But it is something that and also like when we help other people, that we get good company and help back. But it is something that generally is not experienced straight away. When you think of it in terms of planting a seed, then when you plant a seed, still you have to wait for harvest time. And from a Dharma perspective, what we say is, if you want to know what kind of karma you've done in the past, look at your present circumstances. If you want to know what you will become in the future, look at what you do now, your current actions. So this is something, and it's you see a lot of people in the East have this idea of karma, that actually they want the direct experience, the results of karma, that you do something and you want to see the results of it. But it doesn't work like this. So you plant something as a farmer, and you then have to wait for it to grow, and only then you can harvest it. And actually, I don't know whether you get this sort of simile, because in the Netherlands I've seen a lot of meadows and plains, but actually no farms so far. So I wonder whether there are farmers at all. But it is, you can think of it as planting a seed.
Can you repeat the last sentence? Planting the seed.
You can think of it as planting a seed. Planting a seed. Yeah.
You can?
Yes.
Doing an action.
Yes.
Okay.
Doing an action is planting.
The last question?
Yes, please. There's the book Always Present by Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, the founder of Falun Gong. And in that book, there's a motto. Khenpo Sodaji has translated that book. He has written it and made it available in English. And there's a motto, and it says the following, I have here: do not lose your own path, do not disturb others' minds. So this motto, I know it's from Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok, and I'm interested to know how this came about, why this is a motto, what is its meaning, and why is it important?
근데 가면 지금 번쩍 걸로마 참아가 때에 가르침버서 저거 요래. 가르지나 공그 다 소마용로 송시 참아거더니 다 치타마 친직마가 다리 그 측대 차요래. 가르스는 공르 다 근데 공바 마존에 파치르니마 얼가지 열면서 그 혼도 근데 이 공바 조디 된데나 야낙 천도가 만강나는 공바 조래. 옛날에 때니야를 가르로 때니 카버 틀리파 티노나 때니 로마초라 때니 송시 타마즈 조요래. 때니 송시 타마는 주르돔데라 공그 다 장측 마셔 랑 측대 셔만조 때니 장그 셈데 마측 때 송요래. that rangi rang pena rang chupa jine chupa tsu yore chupa tsu da ma shor tani rang pena tani shawa kang jong ke zi na rang de la rang lam lik zi yora rangi lam pena nga popa zi na popa ga rang tsu da ma shor tani nga girgin zi na girgin de la yang rang tsu zi yore te rang tsu de ma shor pena nga su sang lo ta na te pe 또 몽보즈는 레초고요 레상고도 근데 먹강 샤와 강당강잖아 런거 측면 저기도 배 같이 버려서 또 지래 근데 측 니바데 때네 다 장기 셈마트 가수 샤와 강점네 나더니 여러 공마라 여러 깊거리 조시와도 나더니 람님 솔라야는 파라던 시와도 근데 공마 솔라야는 지금 샹경 시와 된자이 손이 나더니 잠바스기야는 셈트고 요마라 당가송 가서들은 잠볼은 그때니 다 멘트 조야 다는데니 치산이들이 jar급다 jar급parne야나 다 뉴트라 몽보조이 단축 조거래. 되니 총산이 다리가 잠 판선 빠르다는 되니 다리 멘트 몽보조요래. 되니 자메존이 멘트 몽보조라. 다 대야나 장가 생축래. 되니 나수때 장세 마트지기도 총산의 ring이 참 상다나 길금 빠르다. 되니 제산이 잠볼은 거 무세요 바나. 양 다른 야를 치네는 전 배나 던조 그런데 소이나요. 샤경시고도와 다 된자인디 다 공그 송시 소마가는 게 타마데레. 되니 가 소이나 되니 배나가 라롱가네 있네나 조 공그 수송조 때 랑츠 마쇼 잔세 마트지기데 때 가랑츠 배나 제선데 라틴 롭칭가나네나 때 거양오데 파치 롭자가 때 플라샤 조원은 조서라 그양 그 종들아 그 그양 지교도 롭자가나지 조원 조거를 때 가랑츠 회나 가르네나 그 감모지면 벌써 공부 조선데 때니 당아서 보바즈 인제다 추바즈 인제가 랑스기 쇼르문이스 되니 가랑츠야 지 잠바 촐라다리 셈마치고나 판바 줍교인데 예제이다 수지 지산전 산들다는 때니 수부터 죄게요래 근데 다 공교대 손시 총마가 타마데레 된디 지 가르침본도 때라요 고지형 몽보즈 때니 추쇼고형 고지 몽보즈요래 때니 직된 쇼고는 랑커 게게인 난다 로마인 난다 세나라라라 미 츠다 마슈레 잠발라 엠보 뜬시이나 뭐야 보즈 용건도 게레 삼교데 데 삼츠요.
So this phrase or this motto is very important for us as followers, as students of Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche, and it's for us all important. The reason why it is so significant is that this basically came out of the last thing that Khenpo Jigme Phuntsho communicated with his disciples, his followers, before he passed away. He passed away in a military hospital in Chengdu in China, but 5-6 days before his passing, he had a telephone call with people at Larungar, and this is basically the summary of what he said. This is one of the last things that he said. Don't lose your, well, it's translated as lose your own path. It can mean actually many different things, and don't disturb the minds of others. So your own path, it could mean your practice, your Dharma practice, but it can also mean, like, if you are Tibetan, then don't lose your Tibetanness. So, and you could even take that as, if you are a teacher, don't lose your identity as a teacher, be a teacher, basically. So it has some reflection on the sort of notions of identity. And then for, don't disturb the minds of others, then you can take this again on many different levels. Most basically that you don't disturb others, but also knowing that that the way, thinking about the way you treat other people, that you treat other people above you with respect, that you treat people on the same level with kindness, and people who are in a less profitable situation than you, with compassion, and that you, and then again levels, you can think of nation states. I mean, the wars are because other people's mind, people are disturbed. They are caused by all these disturbances on smaller levels, family level. Then one is not to disturb the minds of others that come between couples, and so on. And then even, you can think about it for yourself in your direct relationships, but also how people in the world should behave, but even the way we treat animals, for example, that we treat them right, that we don't disturb them. So the significance of this thing is that it's the last thing that Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche said, and that is why it has become so important in Ladungar itself. And just as a lot of institutions and schools, universities, they have this sort of, they have a university motto or school motto, something that students there can take and think about, and something that is significant. So this has become this do not lose your own path and do not disturb other people's minds. This has become our motto, the motto of Ladungar, basically keeping one's own identity as whatever you are, and trying, so not harming others, trying to help others where you can. And you know, the nice thing about this sort of last speech by Khenpo Jigme Phuntsho is that, you know, you can take it in a sort of from a religious point of view, from a worldly point of view, and you know, just in any type of way.
Yeah, I was wondering, because you mentioned in the foreword that there was only a few teachings remained, and that well, it's a collection of teaching. I was just wondering how you went about it and how you collected these things and how you made the choices for the chapters and, that eventually became this book.
근데 shirtang kong 근데 송추도 망보 요래. 요래 다 있는 아마 근데 뭐 보는 뭐 제가 자rdam 자rdam 때 송디데 되니 공그 되니 송쉿 되니 다 우응거 제들 망보 요래. 때 세드는 게 당연히 용시즈 되니 공그 로마솔라다 다걸 그 되니 가교인나 자가 자rdam이나 자가 대진도 랍샤이나 자 된다서 요래. shirtang ko kong ko song de mongbo yore de yin yan ti na ne da nyong shi zi de ne parchir chi lo ma so yan da takar ke jil la phen ba yo ba ga ne de ngari yore ne darong mongbo yore de yin yan da ti na ne kong ge chi ga jun she ya de mongbo yore la she de mongbo yore de ne da nge na chi parchir ga jun she san gari yo ne na de lo ma so phen ba yo ji re sam go tang sang ma ran su me se na rang ge chun de ngoi ho zangyo mare tene khong kambo changina khama tene loma ga thakar kne 지금 다 문적 사다는 tene yabo mayin ba tinda choina tene bena ngaso boyerna tene 다 아티샤 tene 다 khongge na loma chon pe jaldamina thakar ka sonji suriore tene 가르세니 나타 갑견시 노도 라마건 추인세 기담 상토갈 고리기도 담가건 추인세 기요래 다 된다서 따바는 지 송가리도 된다요나 여버르고 삼는 때는 이 뎁당모도 된다 쇼주신을 때는 뎁 자만가리 요래단다 다로야 디소크도 르코마소.
So these maybe shall I hold up the book or something? We know what we're talking about. So what is in this book? They're basically short. The idea is that these are all sort of short instructions, advice, things like that, and also criticism. And the idea is for the disciples, the students of Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche, that it is something that you can sort of directly hits home, and you know, I call it their criticisms, and he was actually always keen to point out the things that were not being done all right, things that were going wrong. He was keen to point out, criticize others, and as we say, and this is something that we, for example, see with other masters, Buddhist masters coming to Tibet. For example, Atisha, when he, what we have from his teachings is that he was actually, the way he taught, he was directly addressed the disciples, his followers, and also interacted with what they were not doing right. So basically these are short, I selected, of course there's many more of these short instructions, criticisms, because we say the criticisms is the best teacher. Sometimes you can, especially when it comes from your own master or your own lama, then it's something that you will immediately take to heart. This is the reason why, and also these are short. It's something we can all easily sort of digest. But there's many more, and I've just chosen. Still, I had to make a choice, a selection of this.
Maybe it's time to.
So yes, you can.
So, first of all, I'd like to, on behalf of us all, thank Khenpo for his willingness to meet with us. So thank you very, very much. I would like to express once again all of our thanks, and we should express our thanks to Dr. Janse for her willingness to jump in and translate. Thank you.